So, I'm actually recording this again, because I'm gonna kind of make this a little bit shorter. So the previous video was 20 minutes, but the problem is I recorded it, uh, by, having something in the way of the most important part of the code. So, let's kind of just do a recap of everything. So, at the end of the survey form, there's a capstone project. There's kind of some projects that are used to reinforce previous concepts. So basically, we got to a point where we finished all the requirements. We did a test, and it passed the test, meaning that we met every single one of the requirements. So it had specific individual requirements, and it passed the test. But the problem is, when before we had all this, so we didn't have this before. So before, all we had was actually this. It looked like this. So even though it was meeting the requirements, it still looked like a very bad, website. Where, if we were to view the source, view page source, yeah, I think it actually doesn't really work for the demos, but it's like this does meet all the requirements technically, but the design is horrible. The design's supposed to look like this. So basically, what we found, what I tried to do is we're trying to get it so that we can kind of engineer our websites to look like a really good website. So this is kind of what it's supposed to look like, and this is kind of what it does look like. So what I did was I was kind of in one of the tutorials, going through the page source, and this is all HTML code, right? And you can do things like, it actually gives you a link to the CSS document, and then you can see all the code. And we kind of were going through that. But what I ended up doing was I kind of just copied all of the code, right? And just pasted it in our HTML document, saw what happened, and it looks like it pretty much made all the difference. Where now this looks very similar to what it's supposed to look like. So meaning that it's kind of just saying that the whole design aspect of a website is very indicative of the style sheet. It's kind of all about the style sheet. So that was kind of just one thing that we found. But there is some helpful people that do give me advice as I go on. A good example is XX. So he actually made a very good suggestion on Gilded, and we do have a Gilded. But instead of doing page source, like how we were doing, like view source, and kind of digging around, there is actually a option tailored towards our purposes. So if we can go to the website, there's something called inspect element. So I'm gonna kind of mess around with this, but there is a view source. There is a view if you paste source, but then below it, if you notice, it says inspect. So actually, I do want to read. I just kind of want to read what the person in the community XX said. He said, "Hey dude, just saw the video you released about the viewing the source of a website, which is helpful when you want to pull the source files of the site. Good video. Most browsers have dev tools built into them. They allow you to modify the HTML and CSS of a website in real time. If you right click on the page and click inspect or inspect element on some browsers instead of view source, it'll open up the dev tools. They are really useful when debugging issues like HTML and CSS of a web page, when you're developing them or trying to reverse engineer something on another. Just thought you'd find this helpful." And I did find it helpful. Because here's how it works. So you can literally click on any part of the website. Let's say we're going to inspect this part of the website. It literally highlights exactly where it is, right? And it knows the structure. So kind of how it works is there's a hierarchy where, we know the body is within the HTML. We know that there's a div in the body in the HTML. And we know there's a form in the div, in the body, in the HTML. And we know there's another div in the form, in the div, called container, in the body, in HTML. And in this case, there's a label within a div called form group, within a form, within another div, within the body, within the HTML. So on any line, it shows you exactly, the structure of it, like the hierarchy of it, and it shows all the code that's necessary for understanding it. So here it knows that it's applying these styles to the label. We can go through many examples. We could do this example, or we could, we could use this as an example. So what do we got here? So this is a select option, drop-down menu, right? Within a form group, within a form, within a div container, within a body, within an HTML document, right? So on one hand, we have the HTML part of it, and then we have the CSS part of it. So this is for form control. So it's applying this, and block kind of just means, it kind of just points out that it kind of has its own block in a way. So it's kind of like if you notice a paragraph, kind of a good analogy is, let's just say, if you get HTML, when you're writing a sentence, you're not gonna put, there's no need to put like another whole line on another sentence. What happens is you just hit a period, and then you write out the next sentence. So basically this makes it so that it has its own block, has its own line. It's like the equivalent of hitting enter. What do you remember about this? Well, we remember that this 100%, like, the question is 100% of what? It's 100% of the element that it's in. So it's kind of like it's relating to the father element. So if we look, this select form control thing is within this. So this is within this. So it's 100% of what's width? This width. Because this is within this. Select drop-down form.form control is within div.form-group. So it's 100% of div.form-group. We're not going to mess with the height too much. We're not going to mess with the padding really. But we did kind of mess with the colors, and we can change it in real time. So we can change it here, we can change it here. Then the question is, what are we changing? It looks like it's going to change the text. So if you notice, the text is changing, right? So if we make it green, it'll be green, the background, let's change the background. Let's make it red. The border, that's this color. Like it says like a gold color, but we can change it to whatever we want. We can even make it black. We can make it white. So this is kind of a good tool to reverse engineer a website to kind of make it so we can repeat the design that it used. So pretty much it's going to be kind of so I think from here on out, I kind of want to make it so that we apply the concepts that we only learned in the module, and then moving forward, kind of making it the skill where we can kind of dive into a website like this and kind of recreate its design by understanding how a website is created, how it's created, and using this tool to give us a further understanding to then being able to create our own websites with the same design. So that's kind of all I wanted to say. Very small video. Yeah, I'm actually gonna end it there. But yeah, in the future we're gonna be using the inspect tool.